door back there?
Yeah, let us
The
know
white
for
light
sure,
that-
'cause we can,
That'll let us know when.
okay. Yeah, absolutely. Just give us a heads up. We'll get squads out there, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Or at least Art.
Or at least Art.
Hi, Art.
All right. I call this meeting to order. Public safety on Monday, June 7th. That's everyone. At 6 p.m. See, this meeting has been given public notice in accordance with the Wisconsin section 19.83 and 19.84 in such form that will appraise the general public and news media subject matter that is intended for discussion and action. Call, I see that we all here this evening. Any public comment or anybody have any public comment at this time for public safety? Seeing none, we will go on to Roman numeral number 4, approval of minutes. Motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Thank you. Is there any discussion that people had questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion approves. This time we'll go Roman numeral 5, Police Department, monthly, please.
I am not able to get onto the internet, so I can't see mine. Hopefully you have access to the one that was accompanied in the,
Neither.
oh, it is on the laptops?
That's why I print mine.
It's on the left.
But there it is. Thank you, Deanna. Deanna's way smarter than me. She found it out. I do have it.
That's right.
Hey, Brian.
So you recall that we haven't had this for a number of months.
There.
Steve Stores was able to pull this report back up and fairly similar to what we have. The only thing that this one is missing right now is kind of comparing a year to date, where this would compare April to April of last year. So like our OWIs for the year are up. This shows that we were down from April of last year, but we are up. So if you see anything else you would like added to that report, that I can certainly check with Steve Stores to see if that's something that he can do for us. Felonies, you notice, and I think it's important to explain that, where you see 18 for the month of April, it just seems like a ton of felonies for our village, and it is. Several years ago, retail thefts above $500 were turned into felonies, and we do get a lot of those down by Walmart. So that will be reflected in that report. 2 hires to talk about. Carrie Jewell, our new clerk typist, started this week. Doing a great job. She came with a lot of experience, and now we're anticipating she's going to fit in very well for us. Tanya Tamayo has accepted the position for the open records property custodian. She is doing a similar job in West Bend PD, so she is familiar with our operating system. So that is going to work out very well for us at all. And the crime prevention officer position that we had talked about earlier this year, we were finally able to fill. And Justin Recklitz has accepted that position. Justin is a day shift officer, assigned to oversee the property room. He's an evidence technician, 19 years experience with the Germantown Police Department. He came to us from West Bend, where he had like 4 years experience up there. So he's going to be a very good fit for that. That crime prevention officer, when they're not working on community related items, will be assisting with the detective bureau with investigations. So he's going to do very well in that capacity. Any questions?
Do we have any other openings?
We don't at this time. We have one of our one still in field training, and that's what we're kind of waiting for him to complete the field training before we put Justin in that spot, so we don't have that open position that we're having to fill with overtime. So we're anticipating he'll be done with field training toward the end of July.
Thank you. Does anybody else on the committee have anything for the police chief? Then we'll go on to fire department, please. John?
So at last month's meeting, you had asked me in regards to our calls for service, what are the busiest areas of the village? And I have a heat map for you here that you could pass down. That kind of gives you a layout of where our busy areas are. If you take that the exact center of the village is Freistadt and Division Road, you can see that the southeast section of the village would be the busiest quadrant. And a lot of it is accounted for in the Gables of Germantown, Tender Reflections, Virginia Highlands area. I wasn't able to pull the exact numbers into a column. I could give a different map that had sections with numbers in it, and I thought this was just easier to read. So that is for you, for your information from last meeting. Also, if you notice, in our monthly report, page, I believe it's 2, the first page after the cover, it has our NFPA compliance trends,
Yes.
and we're sitting right at 92% for the month of, excuse me, we are below 92% for the month of April. And our goal is to meet that 90% of calls answered within 5 minutes and 20 seconds. Looking back at it, for the last month, we have had a significant number of double and triple hit calls and 1 quadruple hit calls. So we're waiting for ambulances to come from neighboring communities as well as sometimes our own ambulance to clear the hospital and make it back. So that is why we're seeing a reduction in our 90% NFPA compliance.
Just to be clear, the double hit means that you get 2 calls at one time, 2 different directions.
Correct.
Okay.
So a lot of times what will happen is we have 2 calls at once going on. Those 2 first calls will be answered within that 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
The third call that comes out is then either coming from a neighboring community or that ambulance is just clearing the hospital.
Mm.
So it takes a significant amount of time for them to get back here or for that mutual aid department to respond.
John, is there any way that you can control as to where you are going? In other words, if we have somebody from another community, Menominee Falls, coming in, maybe take one that's closer to the border or something?
We try to do that. We try to assign the nearest mutual aid department to whatever area of the village that is. It doesn't always work. They have the right to decline those calls too if they are busy. So sometimes we are calling, waiting to see if they're available. And then if they're not, then that comes back to us and then we have to make the next request again to go some other direction.
Okay.
But we do try and utilize geographically of which department we call. In addition to that, we also kind of know which departments are busier than other departments. And we will oftentimes try to utilize a less busy department with the understanding that they are probably more available than the other one. So it's becoming a problem, a significant problem within our department to the amount of calls that we are getting and to the amount of mutual aid that we are having to bring in. I'll give you an example. Last week, Wednesday, we had a cardiac arrest at Bethlehem Lutheran Church, which utilized both ambulances because they're doing CPR. While we are at that call and both ambulances were on their way to the hospital, both crews for the ambulances were on their way to the hospital, we had a car accident on the freeway. So myself and our battalion chief went to the car accident as an engine company and we requested an ambulance from Richfield. While we were at that car accident, we got another cardiac arrest in the village, which the one battalion chief took a first responder vehicle that went to that. We had one paid on premise who ended up coming in, but wasn't an EMT. They went and we waited for another mutual aid company to attend to that cardiac arrest. So I believe when I looked at the numbers today, it's happened 26 times in the last month.
26 times.
Yes.
Now, month. What is app?
So it varies year to year and my numbers aren't great. And I mean that somebody has entered, I don't know. somebody at some point in time in the last year entered in some number wrong, and it showed that we had one instance last year that we had 150 calls at one time, so it is skewing my numbers.
Just a little.
Just, yeah.
I would say last year, it probably happened a total of about 40 times. And it's
this
now
seven
26
times.
times in the last month. The month prior to that was 16. So it's not a trend that's going down. Yes, sir.
Who controls where this goes to?
As far as hospital wise,
Yeah.
part of it is us and part of it is the patient. The rule of thumb that we have to utilize is the closest, most appropriate hospital when we are picking. If it is the patient's choice or the parent, a patient chooses, we have to take them wherever they want to go by law. If we do not, it's considered kidnapping.
So what are the, so
Thank you,
Nfpa,
sir.
F is where,
Freighter Menominee Falls. So that's Community Memorial,
CSO?
Columbia St. Mary's Ozaki, and then Freighter Memorial Lutheran Hospital.
And then we're going 43 other hospital,
43 other locations we have gone to. The furthest that we typically have transported has been Elmbrook and Waukesha Memorial. However, there are certain patients that have to go to certain hospitals.
I understand.
Yeah, we have a lot of
Yep.
bad patients.
Thank you.
Anything else, John, to report? Anybody else on the committee have any other questions, please? Seeing none, I see on policy updates, we don't have any for either department. Going to unfinished business, nothing. And then Roman numeral 7, we have denial of operation license. Joe Clemenson.
I think the main issue behind this is the applicant is on probation. The probation it does specify that the condition that she not enter any bars, taverns, clubs, liquor stores, any establishment where alcohol is primarily sold, served. We were just hoping to have the applicant respond to the issue of actually serving.
I have a question. So where is she actually applying?
I think it was Quick Trip.
Quick Trip?
No, it wasn't Quick Trip. It was Speedway.
Speedway? So I would think that Speedway is not a store that alcohol is primarily sold or served. And I also looked her up on the Circuit Court website, and I did not see anything other than a misdemeanor, which people are not normally on probation for, but in the notes, I did not see anything even remotely pointing to that she is currently on probation.
Yeah, and I guess that was one of the concerns with approving it is that we just want to make sure that we're not allowing her to do something that would violate that probation. The history that we ran does indicate that she is on probation with those conditions stipulated, but not referencing the actual, and you're right, so it would not be a place that primarily serves alcohol.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really talk to her serving, but it doesn't give a lot of guidance and that. We were hoping that she would respond, that we could get some more information on that so that she's not unknowingly violating any of those conditions.
Well, I'm going to take the spot of Dan Wing, and I'm going to make a motion to approve Angel Clemerson's, what is it, bartender license.
Second, please.
I'll send it just to talk about
Okay. Would you like to start, Phil?
it. She was notified that there's a public hearing tonight, correct? And she chose not to show and speak.
I don't think anybody has ever showed since I've been on board, and we've had these come across here. She probably figured that it was worthless to show up, that we were going to deny it anyway. And I don't think that her crime has any bearing on her serving alcohol, or not serving, selling alcohol at a gas station. I commend her for even trying to get a job.
Yeah, and again, I would agree with what you are saying. I guess our question though was the more the probation.
How did we
Issue.
find out about that, the probation issue?
We can make more attempts to reach out to her.
Isn't there a way to figure out with, I don't know how you look it up, but how do you find out if, in fact, somebody is on probation, and if they have a probation officer and get in contact, contact with them and see what the actual terms of probation are? Her crime doesn't have anything to do with alcohol. And it was a misdemeanor, not even a felony. So that's the reason for me making that motion.
Any comments, Brian?
Can I make a comment while you're looking?
Go ahead, please.
So there are help wanted signs all over the community. So I would suggest that perhaps she find another, location to get work. That's one. And number two, if you give her the bartender license, there's no, how long will she stay at the current application place, whatever gas station it is? So in other words, she could start there and then quit and then move on to a bartending job if we give her a bartender's license, correct?
Is that
I
a
think
true,
it has to be
is that a
updated.
true statement?
I believe it has to be updated for your bartender license. Scott, you could probably let us know. Yeah, but she's saying is it specific, so say this young lady quits Speedway and applies at Bubs. But would she be able to take her liquor license if we grant it for her working at Speedway and take it and go work at another establishment that serves alcohol?
Our application specifically does request the location that they are
So,
working
so
at.
it's not transferable.
Okay. She wouldn't be able to work.
I guess that was the correct.
Mhm. I do take Dan Wing's stance on this, and I feel like these denials of licenses are overstepping.
I understand that, and I don't necessarily disagree with the approach. But I'd love to hear from the person, and that's what my purpose. She's here, plead her case, not her choice, please.
I don't think anybody has ever came to plead their case.
They have
Some people.
Well, I've been
They definitely have.
It's,
in the past year that I've been here, we usually get one of these each time. And I have yet to see, in my time here, I have yet to see somebody who's being denied of a bartender license show up for these.
Any comments on your part, Brian?
Sure. So just taking a look at the background, it's a little bit of an interesting situation. Typically, a felony conviction would obviously be an outright bar to a license. With it being charged initially as a felony, but being convicted as a misdemeanor, that wouldn't apply. The circuit court access does indicate that she is on probation. And that probation, one of the terms that is published within the online record at least is absolute sobriety, which would suggest to me that likewise there are provisions that say that she shouldn't be working or going to places where alcohol is served, but that's not on the CCAP record itself. But obviously it is in the background check information that the police department gets, and so they are able to say that. It is an interesting question as to what our particular role would be in this circumstance. Certainly there could be something to be cited for us not granting a license to somebody for which we know they will be violating probation. That's probably the camp that I fall in. But on the other hand, I certainly could see, former trustee Wing, for example, making the argument of that's on them and their employer, and it's not up for us to police that. But if that was the case, then we wouldn't put speed limit signs up, and we wouldn't do all sorts of other things that we do to try to prevent people from breaking the law. So I would fall into the first camp, but I'm not the decision maker.
What are the terms of her probation read, please? Does it say served or sold?
It is not on CCAP, on Wisconsin Circuit Court Access. I'm looking at it right now. There's nothing regarding this at all.
And what we have talks about where alcohol is primarily sold, served.
So
What is Speedway
is
actually?
it work or be on the premise?
Yeah, and it really doesn't say that, and that was kind of the part of the reason we were reluctant to approve it.
Well,
Because if
In the
it's be on the
statement.
premise, she can't go to Synvex. She can't put gas in her car.
Yeah, and
She can't go to Walgreens.
Different name.
I think that's where where primarily sold, served comes into.
So she was under a different name. She is.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be another thing. It does list um, both names as aliases that she's known to go by under her. That would be another example of why having her here would be a good thing, because you could then confirm whether or not she is that individual or not.
Well, I stand by my motion, especially because her crime has nothing to do with alcohol, just because her terms of probation, that's on her. Give her the choice.
Is this also on the village?
This
board?
is on the village board
Personnel.
tonight also.
Okay.
So it would come up either way. If any further questions or comments in regard to this issue, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed.
I'm sorry, what was the,
The motion was to
approve her
grant.
Gender license.
nay?
We have 3 noes and 1 yes.
No, 1 no and 2 yeses.
Yeah.
You have to vote.
You have to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. It's 4 people here. Hello. No, please.
So 2 to
2.
2.
Right. We'll pass it. Here again, it's going on to the full board, and so they'll have a chance to all weigh in on that. So it's good discussion. Going into the new business under B, before I make a statement, Chief, no? Do you have any problems with under B for the 2024 applicants from the police department?
No objections.
And from the fire department?
No, everybody meets the requirements
Okay.
for the fire department's approval.
So committee,
And
I would like to see a motion to accept all of them. And if somebody wants to take one out to have further discussion, we'll go on that route. Otherwise, we'll try to expedite this, please. I would look for that motion, please.
I make a motion to approve new business item B, number 1 through number 24.
Thank you. Second?
I second.
And we have a second. And do we have any further questions or comments in regard to that motion?
Yeah, the only question I have is, some have times, cutoff times, and some don't.
Any question, Deanna, that you might be able to answer on that particular part?
Okay. And is, for those that do have closing times, is that these are all renewals, so there's no way that the closing time was changed from last year to this year? Okay, okay. But we don't have to worry about creeping times or anything like that. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Other further questions? Any questions in regard to the motion? Otherwise, I'll look for those in favor.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Before we go on to C, I will ask the same question for both gentlemen, please.
No objections from police.
No objection from fire.
That motion, please.
I make a motion to approve item C under new business.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And do we have any questions or comments, please, before we vote? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. We on to letter D again, gentlemen.
No objections from police.
No objections from fire.
I
That
make
mo-
a motion for item D under new business.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments in regard to this item, D? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. And one additional time under E, please, gentlemen?
No objections from police.
No objections from fire.
I make a motion to approve item E under new business.
I'll second.
Are there any questions or comments in regard to letter E? Motion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. One additional time, gentlemen, for F?
No objections, police.
No objections from fire.
Make a motion to approve item F under new business.
Second.
Any questions or comments also on letter F motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. And one more time under gentlemen for G.
No objection from fire or
No
from
objection.
police.
Or fire.
I make a motion to approve item G under new business.
I'll second.
Very good. Any questions or
I
comments?
actually do have a question. Is this the same
That works on
license
final
that
act.
they had previously? Have they had both the Class B winery license and the Class B fermented malt beverage
It's
license?
renewal.
Okay.
And there's,
But some of these are new, like there are some,
and there's no time on this one? There's no cutoff time on this one?
includes an outside premise extension, which includes an outdoor patio area and tent. Okay. Okay.
So why is the premise extension on there? So he hasn't extended anything? I understand.
Hey, Deanna.
And Big Eye over by me where I live also has it, that same thing outdoor. We've seen it come before. Okay, any other questions or comments, please? All those in favor of letter G motion?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Under letter H, gentlemen?
No objections from police.
No objections from fire.
Make a motion to approve item H under new business, including 1 through 9.
I'll second.
Questions or comments in regard to letter H motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. And letter I, gentlemen?
No objections from police.
No objections from fire.
Motion to approve item I, number 1 and 2, under new business.
I'll second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. And I seem to have a short one-page agenda. Yeah,
Oh, yep.
just the last,
Oh, the last part.
yeah, the last part.
So the next.
Oh, yeah.
Next meeting.
Next meeting. I knew I was, I had talked to Deanna before in regard to this. Normally we would have our meeting on July 5th. I asked her if July 13th would be okay. It's on a Tuesday. Please.
Fine.
So, okay, then our next meeting will be on July 13th at 6 PM in this building. Adjourn as at this time. Thank you. Thank you, John.